What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Meet the Critters, episode 25. Still doing it. I don't know how, but we're here. So we have a fun one tonight. A bunch of us YouTube channels got together and we're doing a winter collab. And honestly, I think we're going to start collabing more and doing different subjects like this. But this time we're just getting ready for winter, all the prep that goes along with raising livestock in colder weather. So we are going to go ahead and bring Tyler and Joe up, and we're going to start this baby off. What's going on, boys?
How's it going?
It's going.
Joe's just tired.
I am.
Oh, yeah. I get it.
Never-ending work.
Dude, it's nuts.
I was working on the butcher shop some more today.
Yeah.
Which we did a butcher shop update video that it will be out this week, finally.
Perfect. It looks great. From all the pictures you sent in, it looks freaking fantastic.
It's getting there. Spray foam got done Friday. I started building interior walls today.
Perfect.
So
great day to do it with all the rain out here. We didn't really do anything.
It cleared up here after I talked to you this morning. It cleared up and it wasn't too bad. I mean, it was chilly, but
we had like an hour. I got out for about an hour this evening and scrambled to get everything done, but it was raining all day. Spent some time with the family, so it's always good to do that on the weekend, at least a day. We're going to pay for it tomorrow. We have a ton to do, so it'll be makeup day.
It's been gross up here. We have like a tropical storm or something coming in, and it's just been gross, super windy, and now it's pouring, and now the temp's dropping, and it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I seen that there was a cold front coming across the Midwest, and then it was coming up the East Coast towards all of us, but it was pulling in a tropical storm at the same time. So that's why we're getting hammered on with the rain and the cold temps.
You definitely felt a swing in the temps today. It was warm this morning. It was probably almost 70 degrees, and it was like 50 when I went out a little bit ago. Well, a little mid-50s, I'll say.
Well, it's like New England's weird enough as it is, too, where it's like when I was filming my winter prep video, it was almost 90 out in like October. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like, what the hell is happening?
The worst part about it is like it might be 90, and then 2 days later, you're getting like your first snowfall.
That's what happened to us last year. We never had a solid frost, and it just screwed everything. Like, it was awful. Like, we were warm up until like right before Christmas, and then it just dropped. We got like a foot of snow, and then it just dropped to like almost negative temperatures. And it was like, what are we doing here? And everything was mud. Just mud.
Yep.
Well, Joe, we're being rude. Tyler, welcome to your first podcast. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody?
All right. I appreciate you guys having me on. Joe, definitely thanks for getting this set up. Kyle, thanks for having me on your show. We're a small homestead here in Eastern Pennsylvania. Pretty new to it, actually. We got our place in 2019. Something that I've always wanted to do. I grew up on a family Christmas tree farm, so we had the outdoors, we had farming in our background. And we were lucky enough, we actually got the property right next to my family where I grew up. So we basically just joined farms. We expanded a little bit there, which was great. And I jumped into animals, something my dad always messed around with a little bit. He had chickens, pigs, but never really at any type of scale. So it was always something I was interested in, and that's what we're doing now. We're definitely learning. We're learning a lot through it. You know, there's challenges, of course, but I think we're doing all right.
Awesome. And I've watched a bunch of your videos now, and you're killing it.
Yeah, appreciate it.
For sure.
The YouTube thing is definitely new. It was just one of those things this summer. I'm only at it. I'm not even 3 months at it yet. And I was thinking just, coming home from work. So I do work, a typical day job. And I'm coming home and I'm getting questions every day from the guys I work with. I think some of them think I'm crazy that I come home and I continue to work. But I'm always getting the questions. So I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just put this stuff out there? Somebody's going to watch. And if they don't, well, then I'll just stop. Well, turns out people are actually following along. So we're enjoying it. It's a lot of extra work, as you guys know for sure, but it's definitely been a lot of fun to this point. And getting on a podcast, I can't say I had that on my list of things to do this year, but here we are.
Well, we got it in. Yeah, we've talked about this. This is where, like, when I said before, it turns into a therapy session. Half of it is when I do have content creators on, and it's like, dude, this sucks. Why are we doing this? But it's fun.
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah, when I started my channel earlier this year, I didn't have, never even gave a thought about getting on a podcast. And I think I commented on one of Kyle's videos, and we just started chatting back and forth, and I started following him along and started getting in his live comments, and he invited me on, and I've been on quite a few now, actually.
Yeah, you've been my easy button like I was for Josh, because
Yeah.
that's kind of how I didn't have the YouTube channel, I didn't have anything. And the Renegade Butcher podcast that was running for a while, they're taking a break for a bit, but I started listening to that and got into the Telegram group that he had and just started getting on. And it was like, all right, I like this. And then the community that I got into from that, everyone was like, start a YouTube channel, start a podcast. Yeah. And I literally started a YouTube channel and a podcast in the exact same week on top of everything else we have going on. And I haven't really looked back yet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
5 6 months ago.
How quickly everything grows too is pretty cool. We started, and just having you guys reach out, I never would have thought it would have been this quick. So it's cool. The community. These are the type of shows that I always enjoy watching myself. So it's pretty cool to actually be on one.
Yeah, man.
I actually came across your channel through Toolman Tim's. On his Telegram chat.
That's kind of what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we both saw it at the same time and took a mental note.
Yeah. And I started checking out your channel, and then the last podcast I was on with Kyle, I just, for some reason, right before we went on, I was like, we should do a collaboration with some other small channels and try to get some kind of community going. And so I reached out to a few channels that I started watching, and I had a couple more lined up. It didn't pan out, but if we start here, I know the one he wants to get in on it. He just has a lot going on right now. So that would be cool if he can join in, and maybe, through our group, if you guys have other small channels that you watch that I'm not aware of, pull them in too, because that'd be awesome. Start slowly getting it a little bit bigger.
Brown. I mean, I think it's a great idea. And I think collaboration is never a bad thing. Well, most of the time collaboration is never a bad thing. But we all have people that probably watch our stuff that have never heard of either of you guys, in that scenario, and vice versa. So if we can open up our audiences to each other, again, we're all doing very similar content.
Yeah.
If it's not exactly the same, it's very close. Like we're into the same degree of it. So
I had to chuckle when I watched your guys' videos when I got time to sit down. I actually watched Tyler's first thing this morning before I got on and helped him connect. But we didn't have like a set. I never sent you guys a set thing except for like the intro. But if you go back and watch all
nailed it.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. I mean, it's funny, like how similar they are, but we have different things that we pull out of each thing and actually explain a little bit better.
I will say though, because I did watch all of them this morning too.
Yep.
You guys were very professional about how you did the names. Like you were all like either off camera, like looking at something or whatever. And I was like, I can't remember shit. So the names of the
I had it memorized, but I've been, talking to all three of you guys trying to get it all worked up. So it's in the back of my mind all the time because I've been trying to plan this and get all the details, figured out. So I'm kind of glad that it's only 4 channels right now. If we could have went bigger, then I think it would have started trying to get everything.
It would have gotten interesting for sure.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It took a couple takes for me to get that right. I was starting to blend names together and just make stuff up. So we got it though.
Like I said in my video, that's the joy of being able to edit stuff, because
absolutely
I had to edit out too. So
no, I think that's been the weirdest part, is all of a sudden you're mini acting. Like you're not acting, like you're just talking, but you're memorizing something. But then there are moments where it's like you're kind of acting in this while you're filming this in your backyard surrounded by pigs, and it feels weird. Like it's like I don't like any of this. Like 10 years ago, I would have beat myself up if I saw myself doing this.
Oh yeah, the first video I did, I didn't even put my face on the camera. I'm like, I can't get myself to do this. So I'm just filming my sheep. I'm like a mile away from them. You can barely see them. I don't know what I'm doing. I have my phone turned the wrong way. I videoed, I think it was the first 10 to 15 videos I put out. My phone was the wrong way. I'm like, well, we're just going to wing it.
Yeah. Well, that's my favorite part about doing the butchering videos is I frame it just chest down, which is by far my best quality, not my face. So it's just chest down. I don't have my face on camera, like, and half of it's fat, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like fast forward, like anyway, like it's quicker. So I put music over it. So if I don't like what I said, I can just edit that out. I can just mute it completely. But so winter, it's coming.
Yep.
So
unfortunately,
what would you all say is your number one modification you've done because of winter?
I guess I'll go first. My number one modification honestly doesn't even have to do with the farm. And I put this in the video. It's really backup power. We lose power way too much out here. It's crazy. We're only one of 6 houses on our line. So power goes out here. We're definitely not a priority. Our first Christmas in the house, we actually lost power. My daughter was, a month old at the time. We didn't have any sort of backup heat because, your furnace is going to be hardwired. I did have a generator, but we were just running space heaters. We put blankets up over the doorways, and we quickly learned that we need something better. So I put in a transfer switch with the help of my father-in-law. And now we're able to just, flick a switch, start the generator, and we're rolling there. So we have heat backup. We're going to have water and everything else that we're really going to need. Small generator, so it's not going to power everything, but it's definitely going to give us the essentials.
Yeah, that needs to be one of my next big investments is like a good solid generator. There's a what is it? The Facebook Marketplace. There's a guy in Massachusetts who rolls on regularly with refurbished like military diesel generators, and they're not crazy. They're like $3,000. But
yeah, that's not bad.
That's not bad at all for completely top to bottom redone, like good for civilian use. I'm like, dude, for $3-4 that's worth every penny. I could power the shop and the farm with that.
Oh yeah,
And the new Generacs are crazy expensive. So if you can pick something up that big for $3,000, you're doing pretty good.
Yeah, Joe.
Oh, for probably watering. Honestly, just trying to figure out the best way. And every winter, I tweak it and change it. It was a lot different at my other property when we moved here 2 years ago. We've only gone through one winter with full winter with farm animals here on this property. So I get it's just playing with things, trying to figure out what works for, because like every property I notice is going to be different. My little barn that I had at the other place, I trenched water with a frost-free hydrant out there. I don't have that here. I just haven't had time to do that, which would be awesome if I did, but I just haven't made it that far. And then probably second in line would be heat source and power, like Tyler said, because like we had talked a couple podcasts ago, I had got word that we might be in for more frequent blackouts this winter because our local government issues that we have here in New York. So I have a decent sized generator I picked up. It's brand new. I think I paid like $800 for it. It's an 11,000 watt.
Nice.
So I just got to put my transfer switch in and stuff in the out in the garage barn, so it'll backfeed to the house and up to the cabin, because I have the guest cabin, the garage, and the house are all kind of tied into one right now. So
yeah, and I'm gonna go. I actually, from yours, I think how do you like this shrinking hoses? Like,
honestly, if you don't drive over top of them and you if they freeze once,
they're done.
Yeah, but mine lasted all the way through until just recently. The one of them blew out.
Yeah,
but for wintertime, if you can get a couple, 2-3 of them linked together, you just run it out, fill your water, and let that thing shrivel back up, put it in 5-gallon pail and set it back in the house. It's probably been the easiest, quick thing to do.
Okay.
Definitely buried water lines with frost-free hydrants or
Right.
frost-free waters. Those I can't remember what style they are. I looked at them a few years ago, but they have a livestock water. You can get different sizes. You can get them short enough for pigs all the way up to cows and horses, and it's insulated, but it's set up just like a frost-free hydrant. So they put their nose in the bowl, hit that paddle. Right. It fills the bowl up. They drink, but it's got a pinhole in the bottom that's small enough. It drains it back down into the ground, so you don't have to have any electric or anything for it. So I'd really like to install a couple of those and try them out around the sacrifice area for the winter.
Right.
So
no, that's pretty good. Yeah, I was going to stay in the same vein as watering has been my biggest, because we have the barn that's attached to the house, and then we have like stables that were added after, like attached to that, and we have a frost-free hydrant there. And there's a walkout door straight to my winter paddock that I built, which has been for beef since we've had it, because I'm an idiot, and I started with beef. I went from chickens to cows, which is, I don't suggest it. But since we're going with pigs full time now, I redid that pasture and got it set up. But I had the water right next to the wall and plumbed PVC up at an angle and didn't have it completely attached. So it's 1/2 inch going into 1 1/4 that funnels out the wall and would fill the trough that was underneath it, but everything's at an angle. So as soon as you turn the water off, everything this way drains out, everything that this way drains back into the frost free. And I've only had it freeze up on me once, and that's because it got knocked off one of the nails, so it like had a dip in it. But once it froze out, and I've also put a T on it, so I can actually, if I have something in the stalls, I can bring a hose around and just fill it right from there instead of, again, having to run hoses and stuff like that. It's just everything's there. That's been my biggest thing.
I was looking at your setup today on your video, and that's actually really cool. I wish we could do something like that here. We're an old school bucket type of farm right now, and it sucks, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Summer, it works well. I mean, we use that hydraulic ram pump in our creek, and water is easy in the summer. But once that thing freezes up, it's filling buckets in the spring overflow and lugging them out there in the pasture, and it's not something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I did that forever. We had a single wide trailer at our other property. We started out on 4 acres. We had a pond and stuff, and we picked it up on a land contract cheap, just starting out. We just had our daughter, and we didn't have a lot of money, so bought that on land contract, started out, and I was gung-ho. As soon as we found out, we signed the papers and we were getting the place, the whole trailer needed to be gutted and remodeled. And I instantly went down. I bought chickens. I was raising them in the basement of our apartment house. And I went off as soon as I got the trailer to move in. We moved in. We got Nigerian dwarf goats. And then I think that fall I decided, who was it? I think one of my family members, he breeds pigs, and he had some cheap pigs in the fall. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go get these pigs because they're cheap. And I never raised pigs before that. For a long time, I raised dairy goats and chickens and all that stuff, but I never had pigs or cows of my own. I've worked on dairy farms and stuff like that since I was 15 years old. So I wasn't, new to farming by any means, but I just there was no barn on the property. So the first winter, I think they stayed in a little metal garden shed that was there. And then I slowly just started getting scrap lumber, and I have to get a video of that barn. It's just tall enough to walk in for me, and I'm not that tall. I'm 5'9". And I just used stuff that I had on hand. I tore down a couple barns, and I had some lumber given to me for jobs that I traded, and just slowly built stuff. When you don't have money, you got to make it work. If you're going to make, do stuff like that. So, but I think it was the second winter we were there. We lost power for like a week straight, and that was horrible because there's no running water. We had a wall hung propane heat. But Danae and McKinley went and stayed at her grandparents', I do believe, because they still had they had a backup generator. And I had to take an axe, chip ice off the pond, like a 1.5 foot of ice off the pond to carry water to all the animals. And I want to say I was going through like, I don't know, like 5 gallon pails twice a day of water to water all the animals easily. So that was, ever since then, I started looking for a generator. I said at least to run the well and run a heat. That's all I care about for the most part, because chipping ice and carrying buckets of water in the winter for any distance.
Oh, it's terrible.
Once you get,
Awful.
And the amount of things that you
they're
have
10 times the weight in the winter.
Yep.
I don't know what happens, whatever conversion that is, but as soon as there's snow on the ground, 5-gallon buckets
Of course.
10 times as much.
Yep.
And then your pasture has about 20 hockey pucks out there of ice that you have to dump out every day. And it's just not looking forward to it.
No. Yeah.
When I was watching your video today too, Kyle, your setup for your pig waters, how they're pulling them out. Have you ever tried those thread in? They're like a black bung. They got a rubber seal, and you can thread your pig nipples right into them, so they can't pull anything out.
I haven't
That's
done
those.
Those.
I'll try to find the link and I'll send it to you. That's what I use for mine, and they're not that expensive. I want to say I can't remember. They're not much. And you can buy stuff on Amazon.
All I do is I just put a screw through the back of the PVC pipe.
Yeah, I seen that.
So that's what I do with that, and they work well. It was just that was the first one I'd ever done, so it like I didn't have that set up, and it was in the blue barrel, which was harder to get into. Today I just did another one because I had one of those big 60-gallon like olive barrels, like the orange ones, and that one worked awesome. But the Herefords out back had knocked it around so much that they had cracks right next to. So I didn't notice. And all of a sudden I'm like, why are they draining it so quick? And there was a crack. So I had to redo it. And I was like, well, I have 200-gallon like black totes for when we had cows. I don't have cows anymore. Here we go. Like, I'm not going to go out and buy another barrel. I'm not going to have cows for another couple of years.
I actually thought about doing that, put the pig nipples in the side and then just use a regular stock tank heater. Yeah. And if the nipples freeze over, just hitting it with the torch real quick as you walk by.
That's literally exactly. I completely forgot to mention it in the video. Yeah. I will mention it when we get into winter again, when I do my full videotaping winter setup.
Yeah.
But I buy for the 55-gallon barrels, I buy 100-gallon livestock heater, drop it in that, you're good. You're good until low teens to single-digit numbers.
That's what I do too.
Worst case scenario, you just go with the blowtorch and just do that quick.
Yep.
But
I was going to ask you guys how you keep those things from freezing up, but you answered that question.
Yep. Yeah. And what it turns into is just like it's never going to be a picture perfect, it's going to work every single time solution, but it's going to work 8 out of 10 times. And those 2 times it doesn't work, you know exactly what to do or I will say one of those times you know exactly what to do. That last time is catastrophic and you're covered in water and it's freezing and it's awful. But yeah, I've gone to when you have the pig nipples and stuff like that, because I have the 3/4 gaskets that just go into the side of them.
Yeah.
You can put the PVC in.
Yep.
I buy triple the amount that I know I'm going to need for a project, because that's just what happens. They'll accidentally pull it out or whatever. Then they chew on the gasket. Now you have no water. Like, I got caught my pants down. Like I said right in that video, I was like, I'm screwed. I'm hauling buckets like in the middle of October when it's 90 degrees out. I shouldn't be doing this. I have a better setup than this.
When I first started making them, I actually just heat the threads up and thread it right into the barrel. And because a lot of people were doing it, I was like, oh yeah, that'll work. And pigs are destructive. They're going to break anything that you put in there regardless. It's just trying to prolong it as long as you can. It's pretty much all you're doing.
I need to do a video of in that video I have the setup for how I'm doing the pigs this winter off that barn frost-free hydrant.
Yep.
So there was like a choke point where I had it wired, the hose like around the T-post, so it would start overflowing out of the 1.25-inch pipe. So I was like, I'll just make a quick faucet, like out of PVC, like have a better angle, have everything opened up. And I had already been to the hardware store that day, had both kids. The youngest one was napping, needed to fix a bunch of different things. And I was like, I'm just going to get this done. My oldest is with me. She's having a good time. She's distracted. I got it all put together. I had the wrong fitting for to put the hose on, like to connect the PVC to the hose. I had the wrong PVC fitting. And I'm like, no, I don't. Blowtorch. Oh, mallet, hammered it on. Perfect. We're good. It looks so janky, but it works so good.
Rachel said PEX is forgiving. That stuff, yeah. I love PEX. Me, right now for my full-time job, I do HVAC plumbing. We do some dirt work, concrete work and stuff. And that's all we run is PEX. That stuff it's great. Yeah. I mean, compared to the old copper and stuff, it freezes once you're done. The PEX, usually if you have a problem with PEX, it's in the fittings itself or in, connection points more so than the actual line. So, and then everybody that doesn't want to spend the money on the crimp tools and stuff, and they put shark bite fittings in there, as soon as those freeze, they're junk. But don't get me right, they're great. They're great fittings. Like if you need a quick fix, or I've used them plenty myself before I got into doing plumbing work. You just got to be careful if it's going to be in a spot that's going to freeze. The teeth on them, there's little metal teeth in there that actually lock on the pipe. And those, when the ice builds up in there, it actually bends the teeth out, and that's what it blows it apart.
Yeah, I have those set up on my hot water heater in the shop. I've just got a 30-gallon electric hot water heater that we finally now have a frost-free hydrant at the shop, so I'm not running 200 feet of hose from the house to the shop every time I need to do dishes. So that'll make life easier. But I have it set up with quick connects, like brass quick connects with shutoffs. So it's now literally all I have to do is shut off the feed to the frost-free hydrant, turn the frost-free hydrant off, and I have the shop is not heated or cooled yet. We have a okay AC that keeps it but when it comes to winter, I'm like, I can work in the cold. I've worked in the cold my entire life. It'll be fine. But we have a small, like, Radiant electric radiator that I just plug in, and all I'm going to do is just stick it next to the hose coil. So I know that's clean, and it's also heating up the sink that's right there. So it'll throw off a little more heat and stuff. So this winter in the shop will hopefully be a lot easier.
Yeah, I've been there plenty when I've cut up deer on the side in my metal carport and it's 10 degrees out and everything's froze. Yeah, it's not fun.
It's not fun at all.
I understand your pain.
Oh. Now, Tyler, do you do any of your own butchering at the farm or stuff like that?
Yeah, so we do our chickens. We're gonna do everything. It's just I haven't gotten into the whole pig thing yet. So first year for us with pigs. We raised them in the past, and I helped here and there, but I wasn't around enough to actually go through the whole process. So I'm hoping that I'll watch some of you guys out there and we'll figure it out. But we have a setup that we'll be able to hang them over at my dad's place. We have a walk-in cooler. So we can definitely hang them in there.
Nice.
And the butchering, that's going to be another experience this year. We'll definitely shoot that and put it out on YouTube as well. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a first time. Chickens, I feel like I mastered that. But at this point, and we've been doing chickens for a while, and I mean, they're so easy. It's the easiest thing in the world to do.
You guys, do you do your chickens whole? Do you usually whole, or do you break them down?
I actually prefer to part them out. That's just the way we tend to eat them. The whole birds, I find that they just lay in the bottom of my freezer and kind of line the freezer there. Yep. So I like to part them out, but obviously there's, everyone has different preferences. My wife doesn't like skin on, I like skin on. So we always have that debate, and I'm always sneaking a couple packs in there with the skin on, but yeah, chickens are easy. So we were going to butcher a sheep this fall, but then we ended up losing one of our ewes, so we had to keep her. So that kind of sucked. I really wanted to get that down and definitely get some lamb in the freezer, and I'll also learn that because sheep should be pretty easy. I would think it's similar to a deer.
Oh yeah,
but
pretty
again,
close.
We haven't done it.
It's pretty much the same as deer. You're gonna, even if you skin it out, the same and stuff. Like Kyle's got the goat processing one, and I just did a lamb processing video not that long ago. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
For me personally, like I talked about in my video, I like leaving my like loins and everything whole. Usually lambs, their chops are so small, and goats
Yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah,
Same
it's
thing
not
with
worth
venison. It's not worth for us the way we are going to eat it. Those little tiny, I'd eat a whole rack of lamb myself in the
Right.
chop form.
Yeah.
And so I like leaving most of my cuts whole as much as possible, like the leg of lamb, and they don't take up that much room. So yeah, that shouldn't be a hard one for you. And it's nice
No.
because you don't even have to split the lamb like you would with a beef or pork
Yeah.
down the spine. So
Yeah, so we're expecting. I'm hoping that we're gonna have lamb. I mean, our timing is just, of course, it's the best. We're probably gonna have winter lambs again. We had a January lamb this past year. So anyway, I'm hoping that we have some lambs here, and then we can get butchering some of them as well. Because it's I don't know. It's just my thing. Like, I think it's really cool to get meat off of your own land. And we haven't really been able to do that to this point, at least this year. Pigs, we're going to butcher them after Christmas. The plan really will be probably right as the year turns. We're going to be butchering pigs. I have 7 right now, so I want to go down to at least keep 2. We'll keep our boar. We'll keep our sow, who probably having piglets there as well. But we'll at least butcher 5 pigs.
Yeah, that's
especially not ever doing it. That's going to be
that's
you'll
gonna
learn
be
quick.
that's gonna be an interesting one for you.
Well, like I said,
Yeah.
I mean, we will have help as well, and like
Good, yeah.
my family, they have a little bit of experience with it, so it's not going to just be me. I'm selling one to one of my buddies, so I mean, I don't think he knows what he's doing, but he'll at least be a hand with a knife. I don't know if that's gonna be good.
See, that's a weird thing, because I feel in my head I'm thinking about it. I'm like, lambs are a more user-friendly starter.
Yeah.
But I would say pigs are way easier to cut up.
Yeah,
Like,
I actually
in a
started with
carcass-
pork.
Yeah, in a carcass form, pigs are hands down one of the easiest large animals to break down. Slaughtering, sheep and goats all day, like, because they peel like a sock. Like, once you get past the hindquarters, you just peel the whole thing down, barely any knife work. So no, it'll be, and there's so many resources out there. I mean, you can go on my page. I've got a ton of pig processing videos, but again, all over YouTube, there's so many resources.
Yeah, that's what I did. The first pigs that I decided to try myself, we one of my buddies, he had experience, but that was it. I just watched a ton of videos and tried to soak up all the knowledge I could, and I went out and
you have to just do it. I mean, I don't think you got to just jump right into it. So worst case, we're just gonna have a ton of sausage. I guess you just grind it all up.
And that's just it. Like, you can get a ton of sausage out of it. The only issue I'm not even gonna say issue. Like, the only thing that can go wrong is it's not a good clean kill at first, and that sucks. And
we've had that before.
And that is what it is. Like, that happens to me. Like,
I had it happen to me last year on mine.
Yeah.
I was laying them down left and right, and my boss and my brother were here helping. They were skinning, and I got greedy. I had one left to drop, and she was standing behind a tree. Well, when I swung, she turned her head at the same time, and I just grazed her, and I chased that pig all over those pine trees. And once she got that adrenaline pumping, I put 345 long Colt shells in her head before she dropped. But it's tough. Once you get the feel for it and you do it on a regular basis, the biggest thing I'd say for advice for me, I'd say take your time.
Yes.
If the pigs are used to you, put a little feed out and just take your time, because that was I took out, what did we do last year? We did 6 pigs the first weekend. We did 5 the next weekend. And there was only 3 of us working on it. But I did all those in the very last one. I got greedy, didn't take my time, and that's the one that got messed up on.
And that's always when it's going to happen. It's going to be when you walk in, you're like, I got this.
Yeah.
You screw yourself the second you walk into that. And I still catch myself. I put my last beef that we had in the field in the cooler on yesterday. I just did it yesterday. And it's I say never be ashamed of a double tap when it comes to it. I dropped it. It dropped first shot. I walked right up to it. I've raised it his entire life. It wasn't expecting anything. It should have been because it's seen hundreds of animals die, but it didn't expect anything. And just the way it kind of fell, I wasn't getting the IRA action I liked.
Yep.
And I was like, cool. I bring out a second shell for this exact reason, and I dropped it. And my wife, of course, after was like 2 shots, and I was like, it didn't need it, but
better be safe than sorry.
I've made the mistake of it because you can hit them and drop them, and
they can
like,
get back up.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, they're good, they're fine. And then all of a sudden, you cut that throat, and they just look at you, and it's like sawing up out the edge.
Yep.
Like. So, and honest, we're not trying to scare you at all.
No, I mean, I've been through that before, so we've done that a couple times already, and I've been at the trigger, so I know what can go wrong. We had a couple go wrong, but most of the time, it's actually been pretty successful.
Yep.
We will say, I don't know if I should say this on air, but I did have one time we're dipping it in the scalder, and it starts kicking around. I'm like, all right, I don't think it's ready yet.
Yeah.
If that's your level of I shouldn't say this on this channel, go ahead and list some of the back.
Back to the.
You're fine.
I guess our audience is accustomed to this stuff.
Yeah.
But
like when I first got pulled into the Telegram groups and stuff, it was bad. I mean, it's dialed out quite a bit.
It is so tame. It's so tame now.
Yeah. Honestly.
I think it's because I've now become somewhat almost an elder statesman in some of the groups of like moderating. It's like, all right, I got to tone it in a little bit.
To mentor everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I first got on Kyle's group, that was the first one I joined after I got on it. They hammered him so bad, Brian and Josh. And
dude,
it was like,
rough.
Yeah, it was nonstop. Like I couldn't keep up with the comments.
No, it was a lot. It was a lot. It is tamed down so much since the beginning of that.
Oh,
but yeah. So you were Tyler. You were saying, I have to remember, people are listening to this. This isn't just a regular conversation. I have to say who I'm talking to. Tyler. So you were saying before we got on here, you guys only get like, how much snow would you say at peak of winter you have?
Oh man, you guys are gonna laugh at me, but
Probably.
last year we didn't get any. We literally got no snow last year. A dusting here and there. That was it. Really, no accumulation. I would say a decent storm. Like I told you in the beginning, it's 6 inches, and I know that's nothing for up your way. We'll get your occasional foot, 18 inches here and there, maybe once a year. But your typical snow is going to be, you'll see it in the forecast all the time, 3 to 5 inches, something like that. Now we get that wintry mix, which is a lot of ice and stuff mixed in. That always is really my fear, because that's when we lose power here. We have those. We have a lot of white ash they're all breaking off. They're falling everywhere. My whole power line off the side of my house is lined with white ash, of course. So you always hear those things cracking, and like I said, I just brace for losing power. You can bet on it over the winter. We're losing power when we have a storm. But yeah, I mean, snow last year we got lucky. I think we'll probably get it a little bit more this year, but you really never know. I would just say you just got to prepare for it. Prepare that you're going to have a bad winter, and I guess if you don't get it, that's definitely going to be a bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I just thought about it, but none of our videos covered what we do for bedding for animals.
Nope.
Honestly, I didn't even give it a thought until just now. What do you guys use for bedding your animals? Do you just use leftover hay, or?
Yeah.
So I'll probably use that. And for the pigs, this is our first winter with the pigs. The sheep, I didn't do anything with. I mean, the sheep, they don't. That's why I love them so much. They don't. We have a 3-sided shelter. They don't even go in it. They'll lay next to it. They'll lay behind it, but they won't go in it. Be pouring down rain, sleet, snow. They don't care.
Yeah, I've done 2 years of raising bottle lambs. I buy them. The kids raise them with me. Gives them something to really focus on, and then we process them and sell the meat. But I've been very impressed. Like, I've always shied away from sheep because everybody said they're stupid. They try to kill themselves. And I've always been a goat person. And I'm at the point, if I can deal with the goats, all the sheep that I've raised so far have been way easier than the goats, in my opinion.
You're not going to see goats.
They're browsing. My lambs were out eating more stuff than the goats were actually eating when I had them out. I was pretty impressed. So I've really been considering doing some hair sheep myself and just trying it out, because I'm in the process of trying to figure out the best route for my farm. I kind of got gung-ho on the cows and stuff when I first bought this place, and my pastures aren't top notch yet because I started out with just red brush and goldenrod and thick brush. And I'm just at the point where my small herd of cows, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before I even start getting steers from the herd to start making money back off of them. And that's a long time to pour money into a certain thing. So I'm debating on a couple of my thoughts were just keep my dairy cows because I'm always going to keep them. I still get the calves because I enjoy having the babies out of my dairy cows, and then possibly doing a couple steers because I don't want to lose the pastures that I've cleared.
Right.
And I'm going to need a couple larger animals to keep them cleared. Like my neighbors, I'm at roughly probably 15 acres over there that I've cleared and just started working on. And he doesn't want permanent fence, so it's kind of tough with the sheep. I need a lot of netting to graze them over there, which they do an awesome job over there. So it's just trying to figure out my best, what's going to fit the farm the best. But I've been really interested in the sheep. So I was kind of excited when I came across your videos and started seeing some of the stuff that you're doing. I actually met Greg Judy this summer, and he does a lot with sheep, and he's got them trained to a single strand. If I could figure that out, that would be awesome.
Well, I tried that, and I had it going good for I don't know, a couple of weeks, and then next thing you know, my sheep were up across by the road. I'm like, this isn't working.
I had the same issues with my goats. I don't have they're trained to 4 strands of electric, but as soon as I let them out to free range, I own 17 acres here. Plus I have roughly 15 acres next door, and they head right for the road. And it's kind of it's not a main road, but it's pretty busy, and we live right on the road, and they go right to the road every time.
Of course.
So idiots.
Yeah, we had pigs running down the road. We were actually going to butcher chickens this summer, and we're driving up. I had my wife and my kids with me, and I'm like, what is that? It looks like a big black bear. And then my wife's like, it's a pig. And they're just running down the road. So I hop out of the car. And I mean, they were pretty far away from where we actually are. So I'm leading them down. And let me tell you, that was a job. They follow the bucket, but they don't really want to come and follow you.
No. Every time there's a pig loose in my general vicinity, I get tagged in all the Facebook. Is this your pig? Like, no, it's not my pig. It's not. Thank you. But no, I'm not going to get this random pig.
Well, then
I honestly have to say, even though a couple strands of Kyle's fence are upside down, his fences are way more, set up than what I have right now. But my theory in it at this point, just because we're so new to the property, is I'm trying to be as flexible and portable as possible right now until I figure out exactly where I want to put some permanent fencing and go from there. I really would like to line some of the road frontage because I have frontage on 2 roads with woven wire for sure, especially up by the pig pasture and then down around the front by the barn. That would probably eliminate 90% of my issues I have with animals sliding out to the road every once in a while. But
definitely think that one through before you put it in, because we put in our first fencing, the woven wire, and I regret not putting another gate in on the one side already. We did go forward. We put some high tensile in this year, where we think that hopefully the sheep are going to stay. But we've had success with it. I mean, it works really well, but it's definitely a permanent fixture. So if we want to expand off of it, we got to be really thoughtful of where we're going to go next.
Yeah, I put in a lot of thought when I put in that back pig pasture of how I wanted to do it, because I'm like, this is a big area. This is a lot of money going into this.
Yep.
And this is something that's going to be here for the next 10 to 15 years, if not longer.
Yeah.
And it's what I really like about it now is now I'm just building off it like Tetris.
Yep.
So because it's attached to 3 different paddocks, some woven wire, some just 4-strand electric. And now I'm looking at it going, okay, well, I want to put another pen here and another one over here. And all I'm going to have to do is take down a little bit of 4-strand and then just run 2 more lines and I'm solid. And it's like, oh, okay, I like this way better now, to where it's like, because I don't trust pigs to save my life. I have insane fencing anxiety, which I think is why I enjoy fencing so much, because I'm like, nothing's getting out of this. Like, it's not, except for those obvious 2 lines of fence that are upside down that the piglets run out of nonstop. But yeah, no, when you're putting in woven wire, that is, you need to sit there.
Oh yeah.
Like in my case, I just sit there and smoke a cigarette and just like look at the landscape of like, what am I doing? So when I finally build it, I've already built it like 5,000 times in my head.
Yeah, for me, fencing and firewood are probably my 2 favorite things to do on the farm, honestly.
Yeah.
Firewood's my number one. I can cut firewood and split firewood and stack firewood every day, and I'd never get tired of it. It's just something I've done since I was a little kid. I just enjoy it. It's relaxing to me. Fencing, I like it because when you sit back and you start out, even if it's an old fence or like we had blank land, like our whole property, like I said, red brush, goldenrod. Now I'm starting to slowly shape it and get fields figured out where the real wet spots are, where I kind of want to keep the animals away from. Once we start doing it, you sit back and you build that fence and you can actually stand back and look at it and how nice it is, and
right
until one of your animals get through it, and yeah. But
well,
yeah,
once you do it. Oh, go ahead, buddy.
They'll definitely test it. Pigs are, I mean, they're gonna, even woven wire, they're gonna test. We had to put some poly wire on the inside, just electrified, to keep them away from it, because once they grow, once those pigs get a little bigger, they're gonna, I mean, they can bust through it if they really want to.
Well, it's like
even with my hog and cattle panels, they'll push them around if they get.
Yeah.
Well, it gets to a point once you've done enough of it too, it's not an ordeal. Like, you're not going out, oh my God, I have to go build fence. Like when I threw up that electric fence, I didn't even film it because I've done so many electric fence videos at this point. And it was like how I have it set up. For the people who haven't seen the video, please go over and check that out. The link will be in the description of this podcast. For the perimeter, it's woven, it's sheep wire, so it's the smaller, like 3-inch squares, so I know nothing's getting out of it. And I just ran 1 strand of electric around the perimeter, and in the front, where I have access to the barn and everything there, where they can very easily, if they decided to go through that electric, go on under the door, through the barn, into the road, under the barn. They could go anywhere as soon as they pass those 3 strands of electric.
Yeah.
So it's hitting my anxiety, but I'm like, I'm going to trust them. We're going to test this. We're going to see how it goes. But I did that in like 3 hours, 4 hours. Like, just went out, busted it out because I had an afternoon to do it. And it's like, oh, all right. Like, this isn't too bad. Although I forget every time. For everyone listening, if you're running electric fence and you use the ratcheting fence tighteners, which I fucking love. I love those things. Those are the greatest things ever invented. I swear to God. I've used them for so much shit that they probably shouldn't have been used for fencing wise, but they work. If you are running multiple strands on T-posts, run your top wire first and then your bottom wire. I screwed that up this time. I got the bottom one tight as it could be. I'm like, perfect. Then ran the second one. I'm like, that bottom one's a little bit looser. Ran the top one. I'm like, yeah. So I'm more than likely going to be going back and redoing that bottom line because it's bugging me. Because they're nosing it for sure. They're getting zapped to hell, but they're still nosing it. And I'm like, there's also 2 ground rods in that pen, so they're getting hit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'm glad that we finally got some moisture in the ground, because everybody around here, their springs are drying up. My pond's probably 2, maybe 3 feet low. Oh. Like, that's how we're bad right now. And but the moisture, I was moving the beef cows. I got like 2 more moves down on the neighbors, and I was like, man, I forgot to turn the fence charger off. I was like, that's all right. I'll roll this up. No problem. Yeah, no problem. All right. That thing hit me 3 times and my hands were numb for like an hour after. But that's why I bought that fence charger, because I was sick of animals testing it. when there was times when it was dry or the pigs would throw some dirt on the fence. The Cyclops fence charger, if you're going to go with a plug-in fence charger, I highly recommend it. It's well worth the money because I've spent way more money on the cheap chargers trying to keep animals in and they die frequently versus that Cyclops. It's got fuses in it. So if it gets hit by lightning, the fuses blow or something happens. Usually it's just a fuse. You just pop it out, throw a new one in, and you're good to go. And that thing's been awesome. And it frequently, my charger, my fence tester only goes up to 7,000. And the last time I tested it last week, it was still pushing out over 7,000. I have not cleaned off the pig fence in like a month. And I know there's dirt and sticks and stuff on there. And I've got my whole property lined with fence, and it's running a strand plus probably 6 or 7 acres of poly wire over on the neighbors right now. So it's putting out.
That's a big thing to tell people. Like, definitely go check out that one. If you send me the link, I'll put it in the description of the show.
Okay.
But like, that was one of the biggest pieces of advice given to me when I started was go bigger, go to the biggest on your fence.
The biggest you can afford.
It does not matter if it is a small 10 by 10 place you were trying to electrify. Get the biggest chart. And I think mine's like 120 miles. And I think overall I'm thinking about how many spools I've gone through, maybe 3 miles of fence run. Like, if you look at the strands.
Another mistake a lot of people make, and I did it when I first started getting into larger livestock, is I never paid attention. I didn't understand how the fence chargers worked. Look at the joules and not the miles. Yeah, if you can figure out what the joules on your fence charger is versus the miles, because some of the the Farm Hand or whatever other brands that, like the Zebra that Tractor used to carry, they might be rated for 30-mile fence, but it's only 0.5 joules.
Right.
Because that the joules is what you really want to look for if you're looking. Some chargers don't tell you what the joules are. My advice for that would be get one that tells you how many joules, or at least find some information on it before you buy it. For pigs, cows aren't so bad. Once they know, if you don't get, sometimes you get a bull or something that'll test it. But goats and pigs are the two worst ones.
They couldn't care less.
I wouldn't do anything less than 2 joules depending on the size of your paddock for those. My fence charger right now is 5. My boss has the Cyclops that is 12. Mine might be the 8. I'll have to look. I can't remember. I've had it for about a year, but I got the next size smaller than he has. Now his, that thing will just about make you go sterile when you get hit with it. I'm not even joking. I stepped on his whole fence when I first started working with him. I started fixing fence and stuff, and that whole thing just grounded out. It was wrapped around the neighbor's barbed wire fence that's attached to trees. The whole thing, 6 or 7 strands of barbed wire, completely ground out. And the neighbor called him and said, "Hey, can you turn your fence charger off? I'm getting shocked at my sugar shack."
What?
That's how much power that fence charger has.
That's crazy.
It just about put me down when I was standing on it. I kept hearing something ticking. And the other guy that works there, I said, "You unplug it when I find it. I'll holler to you." Well, it was kind of tall grass, and it was coiled up underneath my feet in rubber boots. It shocked me. I could feel it all the way up through, and it felt like my man parts were in my throat. I'm hollering to him. I'm like, "Shut it off, shut it off." I couldn't, because
you're doing it right. When it goes through your whole body, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
Dude, that might be the scariest sound on the planet. When it's just quiet, you're doing chores, and you just hear, wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, where is it? Like,
yeah, especially when you get a good one. But I mean, I've been shocked plenty of times by all sorts of different electrical stuff, especially now that I do a lot with electric. But that'd probably be even for the winter time too. I mean, since we're doing a winter one, if you're gonna have electric in the winter, make sure you got a big enough fence charger to keep putting it out, because I've done that a million times too, where up here in the north, you get the snow loads and it'll push the fence down and ground it out. And then you got loose animals. So,
yeah. Nope.
It's
a
something definitely, Joe. If you're considering sheep, for some reason, I always think that the sheep, they only test it if it hits their nose, they're gonna feel it. But when they brush up against it,
Yeah.
forget it. They're not actually even feeling that shock. So
Yeah.
definitely got to do like a good 5-6 wire if you're gonna put sheep out there.
My lambs this year, they were actually wool breeds because that's what I could find. They brushed up against mine with that fence charger and they felt it.
Oh yeah.
Even through the wool. Oh yeah. Yeah, they didn't like it, and they were trained. Actually, I had the lambs trained to 2 strands this year. They never bothered my polywire 2-strand fence for the most part.
Yeah,
but I also kept them on a pretty good area of green forage, so they didn't really need to test it.
You guys use netting at all?
Yeah, I have some netting.
I haven't played with it yet.
To be honest, I'm not a huge fan. We use it, but if talk about fence anxiety, that section of netting that we have for our sheep is definitely what kind of keeps me up. I'm always checking them because we have deer that run through the area and they can easily knock it down. In fact, actually last weekend, a section of it was knocked down, and I'm there panicking. I couldn't find the sheep. Turns out that they were just bedded down in the tree line, so they were fine. But I'm running all over the place trying to find these animals, knowing that the fence was out.
What brand of netting are you running?
The Premier one.
Yeah, that's the same as I've got, and I have noticed. I mean, mine's used pretty good, but it does not carry electric like the polywire.
No.
Like if you mine it only I've never got it hotter than maybe 2000, and that was directly to my fence charger, and that's a powerful fence charger. Cruz, I really wish he came on tonight, but he actually did a video just a couple weeks ago. He has some new netting that he's trying. I'm pretty sure it's Gallagher brand, and he said his netting was testing over 7,000 volts.
Yeah, I had this at 6,000-7,000 a couple times, but recently I haven't been able to get anywhere near it. And again, that's another reason why I freak out about it, because the charge just isn't there. Yeah. I mean, the animals, if they hit it right, they'll back off, but really they could go right through it. So that always is a worry. And then, you always have to move it. If you're using it more like a semi-permanent type roll, you have to move it around because you got to keep that bottom line clean. So it's definitely, I don't know, it comes in handy. I'm terrible at moving it and rolling it up. I mean, it's always tangled. It's always knotted up for me. And then I'm there just,
especially if you're not doing it especially if you're not using it in an open area.
Yeah.
It gets snagged on every little, it'll find the smallest little twig and the whole thing will get wrapped up in it. And I absolutely hate moving netting. I'll start throwing stuff around. I'm like, I don't even know why I do this. And I'm whipping it down. And I get so mad at it because it's a nightmare. I absolutely agree that, I mean, if you're in open pastures and the grass isn't super tall, it could be a very great tool. I just need to find a better brand. I'd like to try. I got to go back and look. I think it was Gallagher brand.
Definitely.
That's going to be consistently holding a shock better. Because I also had the issue. I have some meat goat crosses that have horns, and the little ones actually were getting their head stuck in it when they were first getting trained to it, and they just sit there. Luckily, it doesn't carry that much of a shock. But my thought is, if I could find a brand that throws a lot more shock, so when they first touch it, it's an instant hit, and not they don't. And I had a calf get stuck in it earlier this year. That's why his name's Sparky. So
when we first started using it, I was actually, my setup was terrible planning. I have their chicken coop in where we put our sheep to start. So in order to separate the sheep from the chickens, I actually used electric netting. I put it around the coop. That way, the sheep weren't there because they were always trying to go up in the chicken coop and laying underneath. They were just making a mess. So I put it there. And a lot of times when they test that, they run the other way. They'll run right into it, and then they knock it down. They get all wrapped up in it. You have it drug, and like you said, it gets snagged on everything. So then you just have a tangled mess all looped around. And I definitely agree.
Yeah, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I'm not even going to play with the netting. It's like my 5-year plan is to get my entire acreage completely woven wire perimeter. Yeah. Different setups. I've been doing some thinking. My dog's throwing up in the background. I don't know what's happening over here. Of just how I'm going to.
That'd be better than the kids throwing up in the background.
Right. Well, I mean, he's 130 pounds. I don't want to see what's coming up if there is anything coming up.
Minor details.
Minor details. But yeah, no, my overall plan is to do a full woven wire perimeter and then just start partitioning it off with polywire. It's like, that's what I do when I take a break out of the shop. I'll just walk out of the back and sit on the slaughter floor and just like look out at the field and go, all right, well, where am I putting this? Where am I putting that? How do I want to do this? I'm never going to be able to do this because I'm broke as shit. But how am I going to do this anyway? So it's overall planning. It's like, I don't want to, we already have so much infrastructure that we're set up to do a decent amount. I don't want to put myself into a position now where it's like, all right, well, now I need to get this netting so I can run these or do this or do that. It's like, nope, we're going to coast. We're at the point now where we know what we're trying to do. We know what we're trying to raise, how we're trying to do it. So let's just do it. Let's not grow crazy amount. If anything, it's going to be probably birds next year. We'll probably do some turkey tractors or something like that. But we've downsized quite a bit while at the same time, like ramping everything up. It's the freedom that went when I pulled the trigger on that last cow. Oh my God. It was so sweet of like, I don't have large ruminants over the winter. Yes. Yeah.
Well, we all have the bad habit of just taking on way too much, thinking that we can handle everything. And that's kind of where I was at, diving into how many pigs now. And I still have plans of getting cows, but I'm kind of reining myself back on that one a little bit. Just, let's make sure the sheep flock grows to where I want it to be. Let's make sure these pigs are all right. And then, we'll look at that later. But we do have a pretty good pasture that we're going to fence, hopefully either over the winter if the ground's still thawed or next spring. That'll be a good 4 or 5 acres that we're going to fence off. So we definitely could do it. We definitely have the space, but again, I got to kind of harness my own ambition a little bit. Still working, still have kids, and it's brutal.
So tough.
Yeah, we went from having 0 animals to, I've got 21 pigs right now. Meat rabbits, I don't even know where we're at. I got a couple litters in there. I got to get weaned off their moms and put out in the rabbit tractors. We've got the ducks that for some reason they continually keep hatching. I cannot wait till they're gone. That's probably the worst animal right now on the farm that I cannot stand.
Tell me we just got ducks.
And don't get me wrong, I like having a couple ducks running around, but these ones are they are completely annoying. They will not stay out of the barn. They're underneath your feed at feeding time. They're finally going into the pond. Like for the first 8 months, they wouldn't even use the pond. They were out in the road, and they will not stop hatching. Like if every duck that was hatched here this year was still alive, if we didn't have the fox issue, we'd be like 50 ducks right now out of like 7 or 8 is what we started with last year.
They're definitely messy too.
Oh yeah, they're super messy. And I absolutely despise butchering ducks. Me and Kyle's talked about that. That is one thing I will not butcher. I cannot stand it. People's always ask me to do it.
No. I'll never raise them again. There will never be a duck here on the ranch ever again.
Nope. We did a run of meat ducks the first year we were here on the farm, and that was easy for us. But the butchering, to your point, it was brutal. Those little pin feathers, forget it.
It's awful.
The one, if I butchered a duck again, I would probably try the wax method.
It works.
To see how it but
it's still a disaster. Like
I still don't have the desire.
It works, but the amount of time and effort you still have to put in for it to work, it's like a government plan essentially. Processing ducks with wax is a government plan. It might work, but it's still going to suck the entire time you do it.
Yeah,
and you're really not getting a lot of meat off of them either.
No,
it's really just breast.
Yeah, you're still doing the job right, but you're not getting anything out of it. Yeah. So,
I'm not hungry enough to waste my time processing a duck. I've got plenty of other animals out there I can drop before the ducks are going. So,
yeah, we'll see. I'll try to manage this a little. We have 5. We lost a couple. So I love duck eggs. So that's really what we're going to go for. But they're messy. I mean, they get all over the place. So we got to keep them.
Bad thing about the ducks, I love duck eggs myself because they're really rich.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be starting to go back on the carnivore diet here pretty soon.
Joe's getting jokes.
Finding them is the next big thing, because ducks are not like chickens. They're not going back in that coop unless you lock them in every night.
Yep.
They will lay everywhere that you don't want them to lay.
Yep.
So it's tough. And then you find a nest, you're like, I got to do the float test on these. And yeah.
Well, boys, we're up over an hour. So, Tyler, where can everyone find you?
Yeah. So
What's going on?
first off, guys, really appreciate having me on here tonight. You guys can find me at Evergreen Farm 19 on YouTube. We're also on Instagram at the same handle. My wife actually runs our TikTok page, which is the same thing. So you can catch us there. We're putting out pretty much anything we do here. We'll throw your way. Hopefully we can teach you a thing or two as well about our farm. So thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Joe.
Yeah. As usual, it's just Blakesley Acres on YouTube and Facebook. I've been trying to get a little bit more into the Facebook stuff. We still haven't done TikTok or nothing like that. I've been trying to talk my wife into doing that stuff. She's been following Kyle's crazy videos, so I get to at least see them.
I sent her a video to show you too.
Yeah, she usually shows them to me. But yeah, that's where you catch us. Our email, I think I finally got it right and linked into our YouTube. So that's the best way to contact us if anybody wants to get a hold of us. And like I said before, anybody that sees this, they have a small YouTube farm channel, homestead, or anything similar. If you want to get in on the collaborations, we are going to plan on doing some more future ones and hopefully try to keep the same people and maybe add in a couple small channels on top of it and just grow and see where we go from there.
Hell yeah. Well, if you're watching this, you are streaming to your guys' channel as well. If you're watching from Tyler or Joe's page, you can find everything of mine at Backwoods Butcher 603 on YouTube. It's the same name for Instagram and TikTok. I've been enjoying TikTok a little too much. I finally figured out how to do a couple different things, and now I'm like, oh boy, watch out, everybody. And I've been on a bit of a wave today. I put out like 4 or 5 today of just random ones, and it's like, whoo, it's taken off, but it's real dark, folks, real dark. But yeah, no, it's basically I try to put out one butchering video and one farming video a week. And we're getting into hunting season now, so we've got some bear videos out. We have some deer videos. I'm hoping for a moose. We'll see. I don't know. I would love to. It's on my bucket list to process. I've only done one, but it was like when I was still like an assistant. So I am looking forward to doing one myself. An exciting video we got coming up in a little while is I'm going to be breaking down my half of the beef that I'm putting in my freezer. So I'm doing a video of what a butcher does on a cut sheet and not what a normal cut sheet's going to look like for somebody who just wants steaks and stuff. I know.
I was actually thinking that the other day. I was watching Tyler's video of his beef that he got. I was going to run that by you about maybe doing a podcast about like butchers, what we prefer, or
sure,
talking to our customers and just going over cut sheets for all the different species maybe one night and kind of giving the people the information. I thought that would be a pretty cool one we could try.
Yeah, and I can actually download or get all those pictures and pull them up on the screen, and we can talk about it and stuff like that. Yeah. So that would be an awesome one. But yeah, no, because I'm weird. I'd rather have stir fry than steaks on most cuts, like just random stuff where it's like, yeah, I have the ability to take the extra minute and go through and chop this up. So I thought that'd be a cool one. And then we are going to SRF next weekend. So we're going to be doing a road trip to Tennessee. So I'm sure there'll be plenty of recording of what's going on and all of the shenanigans there. I know we're planning on doing, a bunch of us are going to try and bank a bunch of podcasts, a bunch of group podcasts, and we're going to see what happens. So
I really wanted to go too. You guys make it sound fucking.
I mean, I have no idea. I have no idea how this is going to go. It's my first time. So.
Oh, I see Cruz came in at the end here.
I did see that.
Yep.
Cruz, you'll be on soon. I promise. Once we get everything figured out.
Yep.
But, well, everybody who was watching live, we appreciate you being here. Boys, I appreciate you coming on. Everyone who's going to be listening now, we appreciate you. So